Podcast. Shame on you!
Shame on you! My name is Ella Envy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Kenzie Paige, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance
I wasn't live.
Podcast. Period.
Or you're ugly. Pretty and power.
Oh, yeah, they're nice to look at and all, but man, I've already messed up so much this afternoon. Geez, what's going on? It's the pre-party with your boy J Cal, who's butchering this whole thing today. Man, it's time to go back to bed. I don't know what's happening, but what's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night with J Cal. This is an interactive podcast. Please comment below, and I'll put what you say up on the screen. Mike said I fucked up, and he is 100% right. I was talking to my camera for 5 minutes, and you guys didn't hear anything. Tim is here. Willie Bowen is here. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. Mandy's here. What's up, Mandy? Mandy, I know you. I think you live in Southern California, Mandy. At some point, if you see me at a show, you should come say hi. I'd love to put a face on the name. That's what I'm doing in St. Louis. You guys know that we're having this Alliance Wrestling Summit. Yeah, that's the name for it. I don't know if we actually declared a name here on the podcast, but in secret, that's what we call it. We call it the Alliance Wrestling Summit. And for those of you who are part of this alliance with me, I'm going to be handing out some T-shirts. I know that's not like the end-all, be-all, but hey, a free T-shirt's kind of cool. We're sitting in the front row on Saturday night for the 75th. You'll see us. I hope we see you. Mike, go to the cruise, man. The cruise. Alcohol. So yeah, it's good stuff. The tapings. If you go to the tapings, Mike, I'll see you at the tapings. That'd be cool. But yeah, so that's what we're doing this in St. Louis. I hope you guys will be there. Lamb Sum says, get yourself an Alliance shirt, guys. It's comfy. We do have the Alliance blog T-shirts. I'm wearing a Lamb Sum shirt actually right now because I am a Lamb Sum guy. I might have been the first Lamb Sum guy. Polka Dot Pam's in the house. Pam, I'm going to be at the Smashing Pumpkins concert in Irvine. I just have to secure my tickets, but I'm going to be there regardless of the wrestling. We're going to do the Bullet with the Butterfly Wings, 1979. We're gonna do the damn thing, Pam. Are you going to be in Irvine? You come to California? So yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a fun couple of days here. August is going to be a fun month for me, busy month. But it's going to be a fun month. I'm going to be going to, I'm going to go see an episode of WOW, the TV taping, the Women of Wrestling. I'm going to go support my pal, La Reina del Rey. Looking forward to seeing her in a tag team with the Pam. At the very least, I got to give you a hug. If I see you, I'm going to give you a hug. Because I didn't give you a hug in Mexico, and I felt like such an asshole for that. So if I see you, Pam, and if you're willing to be hugged by a stranger, I'm going to give you a hug. If Billy sees you at the concert, he might kick you out. Well, I'm not sitting front row. I don't think it'll be a problem. Pam will vouch for me, I'm sure. Right, Pam? I'm actually bringing a friend to the concert. We're going to go rock out to some Smashing Pumpkins. All right. Yeah, that's on, Pam. You got it. When I see you, get a hug. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. The month of August again. I'm gonna go see Smashing Pumpkins in Irvine. This Friday, I'm gonna go to a WOW TV taping in Los Angeles. I'm gonna be heading to where else? I'm gonna do a couple of weekends back to back in Vegas for family functions, and then of course the show that I'm very much looking forward to is being on the airplane. Flying to St. Louis August 25th. Yeah, August 25th. Checking out 2 pay-per-views in St. Louis. Then riding my way down to Nashville for the 2 TV tapings. So I'm going to make the best out of this month of August. We're going to make August ours. throw a Nick Aldis. Do they sell Nick Aldis shirts? I never bought a Nick Aldis shirt. The only Nick Aldis thing I ever bought was this, and I'm almost ready to give it away. Maybe we'll do a contest. Who would want a Nick Aldis action figure? Is there anyone out there who would still want one? And I'm not trying to be like a jerk about it. Like, is there anyone that would still want a Nick Aldis action figure? I mean, he's not in the NWA anymore. So it's this is nice. Being with my friends on a Tuesday, talking NWA. We are the Alliance. Pam, I need to get an Alliance shirt for you. Pam, would you wear an Alliance shirt? Message me later, Pam. I'll message you later. Would you wear an Alliance shirt? James got that big Nick Energy shirt. The one shirt that I wanted him to make that I don't think he came up with was the Nickel Down Economics, because I thought that was so clever. That's one of the best lines he ever had cutting a promo. The Nickel Down Economics. So I don't know if you guys know this, but right before the pre-party, I like to jump on TikTok, and I go live on TikTok. In fact, I'm still live on TikTok right now. And in the last month, people have told me that I look like Kevin Owens, which I don't hate that. Kevin Owens is not a bad looking guy. I recently got Otis, which I'm like, thanks, brother. Then Pam, I'll message you later. I gotta politely ask you what shirt size you wear so that I can get one for you. Then also, I was recently called Joe Gacy from NXT, which again, he's not an ugly man, and I could do fine with that. Yes, I am dancing right now. I'm doing the Macarena. Yeah, I think that's it. But today they got me good. They said I look like Bo Dallas, and I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. Yeah, so trying to grow on TikTok as well is not easy, guys. None of this social media stuff is easy. Some of maybe I'm just not the right guy for it, but it's an uphill battle. And we're supposed to be talking wrestling. I told you guys my monthly itinerary. I told you what I'm doing on TikTok. We haven't even started talking NWA, and we've got. I think we have a pretty good show that's coming up tonight. I mean, but let's talk about a little bit the World is a Vampire tour. Of course, I'm disappointed that the NWA won't be in Irvine, but they didn't. Well, last week I broke the news that they had the dates announced of when the NWA would be on tour with Smashing Pumpkins, but we're learning a little bit more now. We have some talent who will also be there for that show, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about where you can see some of the other NWA wrestlers this week as the calendar is progressing. A lot of the talent are still out there working even outside of the NWA. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll go over tonight's card and talk about the winners and losers and what we think is going to happen as we, march on to the 75th anniversary show. Now, just getting right to it, the World is a Vampire tour. I was very excited about this. I was hoping we would have a full-blown U.S. tour. It's limited to 4 days, which is, I understand that. The crazy thing is this is the build. This is the last push right before the Crockett Cup, right? I said Crockett Cup. Right before the 75th anniversary show, because Thursday the 17th, they'll be in Huntsville, Alabama. That Saturday the 19th, they'll be in West Palm Beach, Florida. Sunday, they'll be in Tampa, Florida. That's just a week out from the anniversary show. Then Tuesday, they'll be in Charlotte leading up to the anniversary show. So it's coming. It's going to be there. And, for as far as the talent goes, I mean, this is a loaded roster. This roster is probably better than, it's definitely better than the roster that they sent to Australia. All apologies to the La Rebellion, but we have a full-scale NWA roster here. Like, this is a lot of guys, even more than what they sent to Mexico City. We've got the Southern Six, and they should be over like Rover in the South, but we'll see how that pans out. I'm talking daddy about they don't make them like they used to. Alex Taylor, Silas Mason and your World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kerry Morton. They'll be there. Colby Carino, who is the number 1 contender for that title, he will be there. Max the Impaler will be in the World's Vampire Tour. Max will be devastating at that tour. We've got Big Strong Mims, EC3. You got Ruthie J, Kenzie Paige, Kylie Paige, Daisy Kills, the Country Gentleman, Rolando Freeman, your World Television Champion, and Tom Latimer, and Camille, of course, the one time, also known as June Byers in Hollywood. I'm excited for those fans who are going to get to see these shows. I think it looks really, really good. I think it's going to be a fun show. I'm seeing some more of your guys' comments. I'll get to that in just a minute. Lamb says I can barely handle it anymore. Way too many social media accounts to handle. So I'm if I can just digress for a minute, I'm still on Tumblr, although I haven't posted anything in quite a long time. So we'll just say Tumblr is dead to Jay, right? We still have Facebook and Instagram, which I'm very active on Instagram, and Instagram basically just repost to Facebook, so it's easy. Then we've got Twitter, X.com. X is going to give it to you. Still like using Twitter. If they change the way that the application is going to be going forward, I don't know if I'll continue to use it, but I'm also on Threads. I'm also on Blue Sky. I'm also on Hive, which are all just like Twitter, but slightly different. Then, of course, TikTok, baby. That's my favorite, I think, because you could do short form video, and it's a lot of fun to interact with people on that format as well. And then we do YouTube Shorts, of course, where we stream on YouTube, we stream on Kick, we stream on Twitch. And then also our audio podcasts are available on Apple iTunes. We're available on Spotify. We're available on Amazon. So, I mean, we're everywhere, right? At least we're trying to be. I'm trying to bring the Alliance with me. I'm never going to be world famous, but hopefully, maybe just famous for the NWA fans. I'd be good with that. Dodie says, let's see who has the worst camera between the Alliance, TikTok, and the AAA show. My camera work is decent. You can check out the Veamos Lucha Libre on YouTube for some of the matches I've filmed in Mexico and as well as United States, where I put up Lucha Libre matches. Lou Thez is here. What's up, Lou? Talking about St. Louis earlier. Can't wait to meet you in person. I've known Lou Thez for probably going on at least a decade, maybe longer, but we've never met face to face. I wouldn't know him if he came up and punched me in the nose. I mean, unless he says, that's for Big Lou, I wouldn't know. So I'm looking forward to meeting him. Lamb says NWA and Irvine Improv would have been a straight low blow to Dave. See, the thing about it is where the amphitheater is, where Smashing Pumpkins are playing, and where Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Tapes is literally about 15 minutes away from each other. It was my hopes that we'd get a TV taping in Hollywood on that Tuesday, which would be, I think, the August the 8th, and then Smashing Pumpkins play August 9th. If they would have had wrestling, I would have been able to go to back-to-back nights of wrestling. By the way, I'm still on TikTok right now, and I have a gentleman in the chat, Johnny Austin Wrestling, and he said, Johnny Autism Wrestling, excuse me. He says that I do look like Kevin Owens. I don't have a problem with that. And he says the Country Gentlemen are good people. He met them. I've never met them, but I've been reaching out to try to get an interview with AJ Kazana. He just hasn't been very receptive, so probably not, but we'll see. Dodie says the world is an oyster, not a vampire. Billy lied to us this whole time. James says he's excited for Gags the Gimp. You liar, James. You lie. Why are you lying? Let's see. Will our world heavyweight champion Tyrus Smash be there, though? No, Tyrus isn't on the card. And I heard recently, I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I heard that he recently had his knee drained. And I'm very much hoping that he has a quick, speedy recovery. I don't want him to come out and look like crap, right? I don't want him to be wrestling EC3 looking broken, decrepit. I want the best version of Tyrus there. Don't get me wrong. I still hope he loses, but I hope it's the best version of Tyrus that loses. I don't want excuses later. I don't want, bad knees. I mean, honestly, I paid to go see an NWA World title match. At the end of the day, I want the best possible outcome, the best match I can get. And I think as any paying audience member, that's what all of us hope for. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Sam Retro's in the house. Willie says Tyrus will be with his law firm of Haagen-Dazs. Nice. Pam says, I'll be at one, possibly two of the World as a Vampire shows. Are you talking? Oh, Pam. Tell your boy what happens. Hook me up. I want to know. I'm pretty close to on all the socials. Yeah, I'm flexing. Yeah, let's go. Sam's got his tickets. Nice. James asked if there would be an invasion angle. No way in hell. No way in hell. Look, the United Wrestling Network and the NWA don't specifically work together, but as we'll talk about later in the show, that doesn't mean that NWA talent can't appear in the United Wrestling Network and vice versa. Obviously, look, Billy Corgan's a wise man. When he looked at adding more talent to his roster after the pandemic, the first place he looked was in the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. He procured Jordan Clearwater, who wasn't a national name at the time. They also procured Slice Boogie, who has only a few appearances with the NWA, but still came directly from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. You wouldn't have seen Jordan Clearwater or Slice Boogie anywhere else but on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. There's a few other talents who are also now part of the NWA that came directly from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. But on the flip side, there's been talents that have appeared on all platforms of the United Wrestling Network. So, but we'll get more to that in a minute. Willie says that would be great, James. Danny Limelight would smash Kerry Morton. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I'm at NWA 75 with Kevin Steen. Podcast Jay podcast. Luthes says the best version of Tyrus is broken and decrepit. Jay. The best version of Tyrus is being afloat. The parades are competing in the pine. Willie. Yes. John's here. What's up, John? Jeremy says Tyrus accounting firm is Hostess, Debbie, and Buffett. Or excuse me, Buffet. I blew it. NWA will be gold, and NWA 75 will be diamonds, because that's the diamond anniversary, I guess. All right, so let's get to it, right? We're talking about the NWA. We're talking about talents who are appearing elsewhere for the NWA. Of course, and I don't have a cool graphic for it. I guess I should have made one, but I didn't have time. This Sunday, August 6th, Chris Adonis returns to the United Wrestling Network. We're just talking about that. Adonis has actually had a handful of appearances for the United Wrestling Network throughout the years. And I mean, his first one was over a decade ago. His first appearance for the NWA was teaming with Willie Mack to take on Scrap Iron Adam Pearce and Watts. And that was at a Championship Wrestling from Hollywood non-televised event at the Pappy Pineda Dome back on June 10th. 2012. Yeah, that's a long time ago. His next appearance for the NWA would be last year, almost 10 years to the day, because it was June 22nd, where he would challenge Jordan Clearwater for an opportunity or challenge for that United Wrestling Network World Championship. And the interesting thing about this, I'm going to go a little bit sidetracked here, is that the history between Adam Pearce and Chris Adonis used to be Chris Masters in the WWE. But before that, he was big Chris Mordertsky. That's when I saw him, when he was just breaking into the business with UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling. In fact, Adam Pearce defeated Chris Mordertsky for the Ultimate Pro Wrestling World Championship. And that was such a wild time. That was in early 2000s, or maybe that was I want to say 2002 or 2001. Regardless, Morderski obviously went on to have a lot of success going to Ohio Valley, and then later the WWE. And of course, from his time in the WWE, he's turned that into wrestling almost everywhere. And including this Sunday, August 6th, he'll be at the United Wrestling Network's Memphis Championship Wrestling, and he'll be there along with Dirty Dango. And Dango obviously is not an NWA talent at this point, but I just thought we should note that the Dirty Dango will be there. I had some other matches that I had set up. Oh, here we go. A number one contenders for the second wrestling championship. That's actually next week, so I guess I should save it for next week. But Misa Kate is making her appearance soon. One thing that we talked a little bit about the NWA on Thursday was we talked about the fact that you're seeing more and more posters with their talent on it, and the talent, those posters are having the NWA logos on those posters, and that's something we haven't seen in a while. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of the NWA demanding that these promotions do it. I don't know if the promotions are doing it because they know that there's value in using talent from the NWA. I'm not sure. But I think it's pretty surprising and kind of a cool thing that you're seeing these event posters now have these NWA logos on them to highlight that is, in fact, an NWA talent. And to me, I think that's very, very cool. I can't wait to see more what's going to happen down the road, especially after the 75th. Who goes where, right? There's always kind of a little bit of a lull with the talent. And usually after the 75th, we see some people kind of walk away from the NWA. We see more faces join the NWA. I mean, I believe it was after the 73rd. Was it the 73rd? No, I was going to say 74th. Well, now I'm getting confused, but we've seen former champions leave the company, right? Like Nick Aldis was out of the NWA. I think before the anniversary show last year. No, that's not true. He wrestled Flip Gordon at the anniversary show, but that was basically his last hurrah for the NWA. We know that it wasn't shortly after losing those tag titles to Pretty Empowered, we saw the Hex kind of walk away from the NWA. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, not just storyline wise, but talent wise. Who comes, who goes, what new faces will be in the NWA. Last year, at the anniversary show, we had the MLW Openweight champion, Davey Richards, show up in the NWA. In fact, he showed up at both the pay-per-view, the 74th anniversary pay-per-view, and at Hard Times. He wrestled 2 matches at Hard Times. So it'll be interesting. I take that back. He just wrestled the 1 match. He wrestled Silas Mason at the pay-per-view, the 74th anniversary, and then he wrestled Colby Carino at Hard Times. So I mean, maybe we'll see some more, something different, something out of the ordinary. Look, AAA talent has already made appearances at the Crockett Cup. We haven't heard anything about AAA talent being involved with the 75th anniversary show, and who knows? Maybe we'll see some new faces show up in the NWA. Look, Jack Stain was on the NWA podcast yesterday, and he doesn't have a match yet. Matt Cardona has an open challenge. I mean, there's a lot of things that could still happen. We don't have a full night of matches for 2 pay-per-views. So let's see some more of your comments. Mike says, don't be surprised with Tyrus that he wins his match against EC3, especially with Latimer and Camille on vignettes saying Tom is coming for the world title. So Tyrus versus EC3 or Tyrus versus Latimer. I mean, look, let me take a drink real quick. I would love to see Tom Latimer as world heavyweight champion. I'd also love to see Chris Adonis. I feel like Chris Adonis should be world champion right now. And I also feel like EC3 would be a good addition to the title. I think all 3 of those guys have something that unique about them that builds the brand. I mean, no one travels more than Chris Adonis. He's a former WWE guy, but he's built his reputation just being a guy that wrestles everywhere. I mean, we showed you a couple weeks ago, he spent the month of April pretty much in Canada. After the 312 pay-per-view, he did a bunch of shows in Canada. He's wrestled recently for our pal Pole Jump out in Australia. If you guys don't know about that, that's a story for another time. But he also wrestles for a lot of the USO tours. He wrestles a lot of the international wrestling promotions that are out there. He was on that same Polish wrestling promotion that Nick Aldis was at a few years back. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Adonis at some point becomes the NWA World Champion. It almost seems like it's a missed opportunity that he hasn't been it already. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of twists and turns that could still happen, and it appears, we talked about this on Thursday, Tom Latimer looks like he's got, at least on paper, he's got his lucky 7 if you're counting every match that he's had, and if not, if he defends the title at the very least he's at 6 NWA sanctioned matches, because we're including the HP Cares for Cooper, and we're including the Boca Raton show. And if both of those matches somehow make it to TV before the Crockett Cup, he'll have been at 6. So a title defense on the pre-show or a title defense on the pay-per-view itself, if he gets one more victory or basically one more successful title defense, he doesn't have to win, he just can't lose. And then he has an opportunity to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. And the other thing that I didn't have time to do today, but what we should probably go back and look at is all of those folks that were in the championship series. Did they all cash in? Did everybody who had a cash in from the championship series that kicked off this year, 2023, back in, I think it was February? I don't know. Yeah, see, that's what John was reading my brain. I didn't get a chance to do that, but I definitely want to. Yeah, exactly. That's something that I've been wanting to do because I really feel like there's some information there that could be beneficial to, like, hey, maybe we get thrown for a loop. Because again, what if EC3 EC3 wins the title and then Tom cashes in on him? What if EC3 loses and Tom cashes in on Tyrus? What if they do a triple threat match? What if one of the guys that have these Jay Spade still has a title shot? I don't think he's ever going to get it, man. Wouldn't that be a shocker if Jay Spade shows up during the Colby and Morton match and just buys in right there? Like, I'm ready to go. I got my number 1 contender spot. I think they voided that a long time ago. Let's get back to some of your other comments. Let's see. Well, at least he'd be 12 pounds gold lighter. I think we're talking about Tyrus there. Yeah. John said Latimer getting his revenge on EC3 would be a great pickup for their earlier arc. I'm ready for that, with Tyrus sitting with Joe and Tim to call the matches. Tyrus would need a special chair for that. That's good. Yeah. Then Willie says, Willie Mack, the knife thrower, wrestles for United Wrestling Network. I'm not sure what you mean with the knife, but yeah, he does. Not exclusively, though. And the thing about Willie Mack is, again, he's another globetrotter. You'll see him. He wrestles a lot of AAA matches, too. Like, almost, that seems to be his bread and butter. John says, I would hope that if you're a signed wrestler, one of the stipulations when wrestling with the NWA's gimmick would be to come on as an NWA talent. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that as well. I think that you should, if you're an NWA wrestler, champion or otherwise, like if you're paid to be in the NWA, yeah, of course it should be highlighted. You should be recognized as an NWA competitor. But I also feel like the NWA should develop more relationships with the smaller independents and kind of form more of a territory type system. They just announced Joe Alonzo and Homicide on that show. That gave me a big pop. Yeah, that's a great addition. Actually, I have that in my notes to talk about too. We have on the pre-show, we're going to get Zion versus Jordan Clearwater, and then they announced Homicide versus Joe Alonzo. So those both are going to be very good matchups, I think, for the pay-per-view. I think the pre-show is going to, I believe Zion versus Clearwater will be pre-show. It sucks to me that Clearwater's doing opening matches, but what are you going to do? They kind of painted themselves into the circle. Last year, at the anniversary or at Hard Times. He won the TV title. Now he's not even on the main event or main show, I should say. Sam says you was right, Jay. We did not know if Nick was going to be at 74 after he got taken out of the main event. Yeah, which that was a whole weird thing too. They worked themselves into a shoot, and I knew that's what they were going to do. Chris Adonis should be world champion. See, Pam and I, we agree on that. Pam and I are advocating that they go back and give the title to Adonis. Lamb says Adonis is the only one who would take that NWA title worldwide. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I think if Tom was champion, I think Tom would definitely defend the title in the UK. I think there would be opportunity for him to wrestle in Mexico as well, all things considering. But ultimately, like, Adonis does the indie grind. He started wrestling at such a young age, and he's such a seasoned veteran, and he's only like 40, if he's that. And it's like I think he's still got a good 5 or 6 years where he could be a dominant type wrestler. Like, do I think he fits into AEW? No. But could I see him filling a gap for Impact? 100%. 100%. He's a guy that I'm surprised AAA isn't on the phone with Billy every day being, we want to use Adonis. We want Adonis. We want Adonis. Because he's definitely over. He was one of the few guys that got cheered in Mexico City. Pam can attest to it. And not just because she's an Adonis fan, but because the fans actually cheered him. They knew who he was. They popped for him. Draper and Mims, future NWA US Tag Team Champions. I don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see. Mike says, me too, but will the NWA fans want again to see EC3 versus Latimer and possibly rekindling to control your narrative story? It didn't go well last time on pay-per-view. I don't think a match or a program or a gimmick will ever go well if in the middle of the match, one of the competitors stops wrestling, grabs the microphone, and starts speaking. I think that was doomed from the start. Whichever agent approved that shouldn't be allowed to agent anymore. Adonis versus Tyrus for the World Heavyweight Championship at 76. Oh God, James, I hope not. Don't put that evil on us. We already did that one. And that's right. Dave Scooby said Galley talks to EC3 tomorrow at 7 on NWA Instagram. So if you're tomorrow watching the other Alliance guys, as they're wrapping their show up, you could probably hop over to Instagram and check it out, or maybe watch it live with them. Very hard for me to say that all of a sudden. Luther says, absolutely hate the blatant ripoff of Money in the Bank with the old-fashioned thing. I don't mind them receiving a title shot, but make it an organized match. Yeah, I got what you were saying. I totally understood that one. I agree with you. Let's see. If Tom cashes at the Chase, I want him to cash in after Tiger's EC3 match ended, not a triple threat. I'm all right with that too, Dodie. Hey, any way you could put the belt in Tom Latimer's hands, at this point, I'm good with it. Mac the Knife is an old school song. Sorry, guys. Right over my 44-year-old head. Joe says, I'd be down for that, Dodie, even though that was how the Homicide Colby Carey thing went down. I think it would be a great breakdown. I don't hate it. There it is. Okay, Willie, got it. Jeremy says the NWA needs United Wrestling Network Clearwater, and NWA needs Clearwater from the United Wrestling Network. I think we talked about that once before, but the character in the NWA is fun, but not used very well. The character in United Wrestling Network is super heel. He's way over. He's over as a heel. And if he could bring that character to the NWA, I think he would be fire. But they don't let him for whatever reason. He's kind of a doofus in Hollywood. Or, I mean, not Hollywood, in the NWA. And I get where everyone's playing a role, but, like, man, he could do so much more than what you're giving him. Retro says even Clearwater's TV title win was on a pre-show. Oh, there it is. There you go. John says, I've been thinking about it a lot. I really hope NWA splits ex-WWE and other top-level guys into the 10 pounds of gold only stories, and we need Jordan and Kratos and Thrillbilly and lower belt stories to put them over. So let's see. The dangers with that, right, is anytime you have a credible performer, incredible wrestler, if EC3 as national champion, I think if they should have let it breathe a little bit, right? They should have let it breathe a little bit. If he would have had that title for 6 months, 2 or 3 pay-per-views, imagine the credibility he brings to that title. He was wearing that title when he was in Ohio Valley. There were upcoming title matches where he was supposed to be defending it, and then all that kind of got thrown to the side because he's forfeited the title to make a shot at the world's heavyweight champion, which is it's fine. All that's fine, but I feel like the longer he would have held that title, the more credible it would have been. And personally, what I would have done is not have, EC3 forfeit the title, but have someone defeat EC3 to win the title. And I don't care if you use shady means for him to lose the title. If Tyrus were to interfere, or if the Southern Six were to interfere, or something happens to give Silas an unfair advantage to win the title, I don't care. That doesn't hurt anybody. I think when they relinquish the title and make it there's no lineal champion to win the title, then you kind of have this a loss of momentum. So whoever wins, be it Thrillbilly or Odinson or I think it's Kratos, whoever is the third man in that match, I mean, there's no momentum going into it. And I feel like that hurts whoever the next champion's going to be. Pam says she wouldn't be surprised if someone else scoops Adonis up. I just don't think it's going to be AEW. I mean, I could even see a return to the WWE. They're talking about bringing Carlito back, or he's already back, depending on who you believe. And, they were a great tag team, Carlito and Adonis. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. And I think that would be a blow to the NWA. I think that would hurt. Jammin' Music Man's here. What's up, Jammin'? Let's see. Rick Del Santo. Jammin' says he likes New Japan Strong. Rick Del Santo's here in the house. Let's see. A heel should be a heel in all their promotions at once. I think keep it kayfabe. It's hard to do that, right? Because every booking office is different. Every promotion will push what they feel best serves their what they need. And this isn't like the old days where everyone had a handshake agreement. Things are different. The poor beleaguered national title, dumped by Adonis, dumped by EC3. The value really diminished when that happens. Yeah, see, Tim, and now you just crystallized what my thoughts were. If anything, I feel like they should have let that title go unsolved for a while, remain vacant, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I don't think you're doing a favor. Let's say, best case scenario, Silas Mason wins that title. We're all excited about Silas Mason. He wins that title, great. But that means he couldn't beat the former champ to win it. It's almost like you created a secondary championship because the first champion, who unified 2 titles, just couldn't be beaten. So you had to create another title for another wrestler so that they can call themselves a champion. See what I'm saying there? Read between the lines. Lamb says they don't let Clearwater be like the United Wrestling Network because he's a Marquez #1 heel guy. Shit. Oh, Lamb, you're a gem. Vacant has been the best national champion since Willie Mack. Holler if you hear Lamb. Willie says, I wouldn't mind seeing the return of the North American Heavyweight Championship. I feel like I wouldn't want to add an additional title at this point unless it's going to be a title that's shared with AAA. So let's say you do bring it back a North American Championship, and this kind of goes to what I was saying about Adonis. All right, bring it back. Let Adonis win it, and then he can defend in AAA. And then maybe he loses it in AAA, comes back without the belt. AAA comes to the United States to defend the title. It can be something that goes back and forth. For that, I'm all about that. That would be great. But I don't want to add any more additional titles to the NWA as it stands. It just feels like there's too many. Remember, there's only like an hour to an hour and a half of TV time at this point. They have a hard enough time getting the Junior Heavyweight Championship over, the TV title over, the national title over, and the 10 pounds of gold. And that's not to even mention there's 2 sets of tag team titles for the men and tag team titles for the women. and the TV and world championship for the women. That's just too much. Let's see. Jamin, I'm going to get to your point, but I want to read a few more of these other comments. Let's see. I agree on the relinquishing. I just keep thinking about the whole WrestleMania 3 thing. We're having Hogan Andre world and having Steamboat Macho Man means having the belt race kept separate. Sure. And I don't hate that either, but let's not be mistaken. I mean, Andre was a draw even without the title. Andre was a draw everywhere. Hogan was a draw. Steamboat Flair, Steamboat Dragon, Steamboat Savage was the best match at WrestleMania, but I wouldn't call either one of those guys, I wouldn't put them in the same boat as we would Silas, Kratos, and Odinson. That's for sure. I just meaning that, Steamboat before that was a NWA World Champion. Yeah. Wasn't he? Or was it after? Ooh, now I don't remember. I guess that was before. Anyway, they were very over already. Steamboat had been on top of the Mid-Atlantic for quite some time before he came to the WWE. They keep all the marks who came for the big names happy with those guys wrestling, and all the guys who don't have names have those huge audiences that can stand on their own without their next EC3 showing up and killing their national run. That's true. I mean, I get what you're saying for sure. Rick says, no need for any more titles now. Worry about improving the product. Rick ain't wrong, guys. Rick ain't wrong. All right, Lamb had my back on that one. Steamboat became world champion before WrestleMania 3. Okay, perfect. Like 3 years before WrestleMania. Okay. Jamin says, question for you, Jay. Do you have any good NWA matches or shows from the 2010s you recommend watching? Jamin Music Man, I don't know if you're part of our Discord. If you're not, you should be. The Discord link is in the bio. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you're finding yourself not getting in, feel free to come in and check it out. If the link doesn't work, DM me on any social media. I'll give you the link. People are telling me I look like Kevin Owens on TikTok. Sorry, thought it was funny. Let's see. Then we get to see Thrillbilly and Kratos and those guys shine. And I mean, John, totally get it, right? I don't disagree with you. I like the idea that I like the integration, right? I think Thrillbilly beating up on Kratos is amazing. Thrillbilly beating up on Odinson is amazing, and vice versa. But at some point, I want to see Odinson wrestling against Adonis, and I want to see Kratos wrestling against EC3. I want these guys to grow, because you if you keep it segregated, then they're never going to actually shine. It's always going to be the secondary part of the show, and I don't think that would be good for anyone. Jay Owens, we're gonna have to do something like I do a Jay Steen or something, to Jay Podcast Jay or something. I don't know. Would anyone buy a T-shirt like that though? I got an artist who will draw my face and do it very funny and cute, like a cartoon character. But who's gonna wear that? Like, my own wife wouldn't wear that shirt. That's funny to me. All right, let's talk about tonight's show. Oh, see, your boy's slipping today. Just not on top of anything. I'm gonna stall while I try to get these the graphics up here. So yeah, a lot of fun wrestling coming up. Oh, I forgot to finish talking about some of the other matches that are happening very, very soon with NWA Talent. Of course, we've got coming up. I guess we missed it. Missed it. Never mind. There's no point in talking about that. So tonight's 70, as the March to 75 continues, we've got a great show for you, especially if you like gimps and pimps and whatever else. I don't know. So One thing that I think is pretty cool is I didn't know if Koa Lazamama would be back with the NWA. Of course, we saw him. He did make his first appearance in the NWA against Ricky Morton. He was also part of that big show from the World Association of Wrestling, that UK based promotion. We did see him wrestle that night, as well as wrestling for the NWA, and it looks like we'll be seeing him again soon. Hold on a second, I just got distracted. Hang on just a second. Sorry, guys. So we know that is a possibility. Going forward, we could see some more of Lazamama. And although I did not like his match against Kerry Morton, he looked like a good talent. I'd like to see more of him in the future. Of course, also tonight, we get the debut of this new fella named Robert Anthony. Has anyone ever heard of this guy before? Robert Anthony? He'll be teaming up with Eric Jackson to take on Psycho Boy Fodder and Joe Alonzo. Now, we know that I'm being tongue-in-cheek here with Robert Anthony. We know that Robert Anthony is actually one of the trainers who's helped train Misa Kate. He would help train Joe Alonzo. In fact, he's kind of like the pipeline that has been bringing in so much talent from Chicago into the NWA. And now apparently he's going to get his own opportunity to wrestle in the NWA. I just don't know if putting him in a tag team with Eric Jackson makes a lot of sense. I mean, Robert Anthony didn't train Eric Jackson. I think Eric Jackson was trained by our good pal Jeremiah Plunkett. So it's kind of interesting that they put him in a match, where there's no real connection there. I mean, conversely, I don't think you would put Eric Jackson and Fodder as a tag team either. But then, I mean, I think I would have had him wrestle in a tag team with Joe Alonzo, a guy that he helped train. Our pal Heebs says that Koa's interview leads to what I hear is a pretty awesome match. That's great. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about him, but I felt like he exhibited a lot of potential in his short little match with Ricky Morton, excuse me. Jamming Music Man says, are we ever going to see other members join the Southern Six? That's a great question. Alex Taylor was actively recruiting Jax Dane last night in the This Is the NWA podcast. So who knows? Maybe. Willie says Koa was in Australia too. I think you're mixing that up. I don't think he was in Australia. And then John says, I don't know, Jammin. The new shirt has 3 skulls. Yeah, shirts can change though. Nothing lasts forever. Excuse me. I have something to drink. I could just drink. So let's see. Then other matches scheduled for tonight. The big triple threat match. And this one looks good. The aforementioned Chris Adonis, who you can see with the United Wrestling Network this Sunday in Memphis, will be in a triple threat match featuring Damage of Blunt Force Trauma with his manager, Aaron Stevens, and Dak Draper. Now, we know from last week, hell, we've known this all along, Aaron Stevens has no issue getting involved in a match. Will he be able to get involved in a match that has both Dak Draper and Chris Adonis? Of course, Dak Draper had previously been teaming with Mims. Mims seemingly hurt from his matchup with Blake Troop from last week, so I don't know where his mind will be during this match, and I don't know what this match might actually lead to, but we'll see. I mean, at the very least, it looks like a big, fun, meaty match. Let's see. Jammin says, I was watching that stream. Yeah, it was. Look, I'm going to watch anything that Jack Stain's in. I wish I could tell you that I watch everything the NWA puts out, but I'll be honest, it's hard for me to watch. With no disrespect to Gary, it's hard for me to watch a competing podcast, and it's not because I think they do a bad job. I actually really think Gary does a good job, but I don't want to be them. I don't want to accidentally emulate their style. I don't want to accidentally borrow their mannerisms or their verbiage. I want my show to be completely independent of what Gary does. And I love Gary. I mean, when I see Gary in St. Louis, I'm going to give him a big bro hug. Of course. I love Gary. Gary's a good dude. I'm hoping to see Will Martin as well. I know he hasn't been on their podcast for a while, but those guys, I love those guys. We're definitely brothers from different mothers. And I'm not trying to discourage any of you guys from watching their show. In fact, I encourage it, but I just don't want to steal what they're doing. I don't want to accidentally incorporate their stuff into my stuff. I'd rather be completely independent of them, and I'm sure they feel the same way about me. So we'll see. Jamming Music Man. No, John says, I don't mind so much that Anthony's with Jackson. It's not a big deal. It just seems kind of weird because there's no direct correlation to any of these talents. Like, Fodder and Anthony, Fodder and Joe Alonzo have no real connection. Jackson and Anthony have no real connection. And nobody in the tag team match actually has any connection. I don't see where there's any kind of point to have this match. You could have done 2 singles matches, or you could have done a tag match with Robert Anthony and somebody he is more associated with, like Joe Alonzo. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. It's a preliminary match. It'll probably be the first match on the card. It just, I don't understand what they were going for with that one. But you like Jackson rising up. I would love to see him rise up. Yeah, more good young hands are important. Not every look. There's a lot of guys in the NWA who are 40 plus, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But at some point, you're going to age yourself out of the business. Not everybody is Ricky Morton who can keep doing this, 30 years after their prime. It's going to be an uphill battle for the NWA if they don't get young. That's why guys like Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor and Silas Mason and Odinson and Jordan Clearwater and Kratos and to a lesser extent Tom Latimer. That's why it's good to have these younger guys, youngish guys, grow together and build up that next wave with Eric Jackson and Colby Carino. And I said Kerry Morton. Kerry Morton actually fits in the younger bracket, but you get what I'm saying. You need to keep building up because the talent eventually is going to move on one way or the other. John says, I'm wondering if Sign will ever return. I heard that the character's done. Now, I don't know if there's truth to that, but that's what I've heard. So we'll see. Willie says Jack Stain should have wrestled Tyrus. I mean, I wanted Jack Stain to have another Own the World title. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing Jack Stain with the TV title. It's a belt he's never held before. Or the U.S. tag titles. I just don't know that I like Blake Troop as his tag team partner. Jamin says, I like Gary and all the other guys. They have a segment called Storytime with Rush. Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny. Mike says, Alliance blog is more realistic, unplanned. NW, of course, kayfabe and planned as well as platformed and structured. I don't know if it's planned, to be quite honest with you, but it's entertainment. If you want to watch more NWA content, that's the way to get it. Agree. It's weird booking without the promos to explain any of the pairings. And even the promo that we got with Eric Jackson, I mean, it didn't really, it felt very anticlimactic. Fodder interrupts, and it's like he was supposed to be there all along. Eric doesn't even know who Robert Anthony is. It just, I don't know. Mike says, yes, younger or other talent now getting together, working, training or we'll build a good group of guys down the road like the old OVW or DCW alum did 10 years ago. I mean, then I know this isn't a WWE program, so my apologies already, Willie, but there was that point in time when the WWE had the show Tough Enough, and they were bringing in guys like Maven and Jackie Gata, right? And right around the same time, they had stars developing at Ohio Valley. Later, they would send them to Florida Championship Wrestling. But when that crop of talent from Ohio Valley showed up, Batista, Randy Orton, Goldberg, Shelton Benjamin, John Cena. I mean, those 5 guys changed the face of the WWE, some 20 years after the fact. And what I think the NWA, at the very least, is hoping for is that these talents that they're bringing in down the road can be game changers for him. So like an Eric Jackson. I mean, Kerry Morton's already changing the game, and he's a rookie. You know, he not a rookie, but he's a youngin, is what I meant to say. At this point, you'd have to switch from W's to edibles to emulate Kerry's last show. Thank you for that, John. NWA Pro Wrestling in the 60s and 70s were good, especially going to different territories. I still feel like a territory system could work. It'd be so beneficial for the NWA too. Famously, a guy like, oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue, Freddie Blassie. Freddie Blassie was the most over heel in the NWA Los Angeles territory. He was hated. Literally, women in the audience tried to shank him with a knife. I mean, that's not a joke. That really happened. And after his heat started to die down, he went to Georgia and started working for Georgia Championship Wrestling. And in his absence, John Tolos became the top heel in the LA territory. And when Blassie came back, he was celebrated as a hero. And the blood feuds between Tolos and Blassie, I mean, they used to cover the wrestling magazines back in the early 70s, late 70s. You'd see these magazines with these men covered in blood wearing the crimson mask. They would be selling out the Los Angeles Grand Olympic Auditorium like they had their best gates based on this Blassie Tolos feud. But that doesn't happen without a territory system. We can't miss you if you don't go away. The same thing I said about Nick Aldis. After Aldis lost the title, if there was another place for him to go, another place for him to be other than Power, but still in the NWA, that would have been great. Imagine if there was a positive relationship between the NWA, United Wrestling Network, Nick Aldis, Dave Marquez, all that stuff. You could have had Aldis go to the NWA, go to United Wrestling Network and become a top challenger for the United Wrestling Network World Championship. Hell, maybe even put the title on him. And he wouldn't be on the NWA TV, but he'd still be a part of the NWA. They do house shows. Maybe he shows up, defends the United Wrestling Network Championship. This could have been very good for the NWA. However, they decided not to do that. And that's their prerogative. They're allowed to do that. Speaking of Blassie, his house is in a walking distance from where I live. His wife, Miyoko, still lives there. That's amazing. Blassie is a guy who, he's a made guy as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why he isn't in more Hall of Fames himself. Mike says, yes, Jay. Then years later, the Basham Bros, Eugene, Spirit Squad, and some those from 10 year of Spirit Squad and so on from those 10 of years, they're now still wrestling in other promotions. Yeah, of course. I mean, Dolph Ziggler is one of the made guys in WWE. Former world champion, of course, not in the title picture right now, but very well could be in any chance they want. So, yeah. And then, of course, in the main event for tonight, I believe it's the main event, we're going to see Angelina Love challenge the women's television champion, Kenzie Paige. Title match on the line. I don't know if this match has happened before. I kind of think it has. But even still, this is the kind of match where this is where Angelina Love is beneficial to the NWA. She has a history and reputation of being a women's world champion. Kenzie Paige gets a victory over her, helps solidify her as the women's television champion. And of course, leading up to the 75th anniversary show, who knows? Maybe Kenzie Paige might cash in on her title match. Real quick, I guess I can look. How many title matches does Kenzie Paige have as Women's World TV Champion? Bear with me while I do the research here that I should have done earlier. And over the past 117 days, Kenzie Paige has had 5 defenses. She's defeated Sierra. Who is Sierra? I don't even remember Sierra. She defeated Ella Envy. She defeated... She lost to Cherry Stevens in Australia, but by disqualification. She lost to Ruthie J at the pre-show for Crockett Cup, also by disqualification. And then she defeated Samantha Starr on a couple weeks ago back on Power. So I mean, we could see, Kenzie Paige maybe make a challenge at Crockett Cup. Let's see. Andy says, I enjoyed Gary's show from when he was solo to the bearded trio. Nowadays, that Kyle is a huge distraction, and it throws it all off, in my opinion. Wow. Well, thank you, Mandy. I appreciate the compliment. I very much like the bearded trio. I even made an appearance once as we were the Fabulous Freebeards. I like those guys. We are all kind of like-minded. We have a few differences of opinions on a few things, but other than that, those guys are great. I've opened up the door if Will ever wanted to do anything over here, if Dr. Rob would ever want to do anything over here, they're more than welcome to. I know life gets busy, and I think they both are taking a break from podcasting at the moment. The Mike brings up Adonis, JTG, Mike Mondo, Fandango, and so on from that alumni. Yeah, man, that just kept coming. And Tony says, Robert Anthony, this jabroni's been hanging out with Billy for far too long. Finally, he shows himself on Power. I'm hoping this is another interesting breakthrough for Robert Anthony, and now he makes his debut on TV. I can't wait to see what they have in store for him. But that's gonna do it, guys. It's 3:05. You stayed with us this long. I appreciate you being here. Of course, the other guys will be here Wednesday. They're talking United Wrestling Network, MLW, NWA, some fantasy booking, and of course, Jaden, DKM, and myself will be here on Thursday to cover this week's Power. So we hope to see you guys all there. Of course, this has been a lot of fun, so I do appreciate you guys being here each and every Tuesday. But until next time, I'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the Pre-Party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are